All right.
Hi, and welcome to the SEO Podcast, Unknown Secrets of Internet Marketing. My name is Chris Burris, one of the owners of EWR Digital.
And my name is Matt Bertram, your SEO digital strategist.
And today you're like a crypto strategist because
I have gone down the crypto rabbit hole. That is
I feel like you've disappeared, and then you like come up for air every now and then. Except your air is not to breathe in. Your air is to exhale the information that you've absorbed, and then you go back down in the rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's potentially true.
Please remember we are broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and Matt and I are your results rebels. Or we are your, SEO demystifiers.
No, we're testing.
I believe you rejected that last time.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump right in. We thought we were brainstorming. Matt went down this cryptocurrency rabbit hole. And we started thinking, cryptocurrencies, pretty impressive. It's probably going to be here to stay. Matt will say it absolutely is here to stay. I will say it's probably here to stay. And marketing applies to everything. So let's pretend, let's create a cryptocurrency. And you know the history behind Dogecoin, right? Like it was just a joke, right? And then it actually got so much momentum, he turned it into a coin, and then off it goes. So who knows? Maybe there'll eventually be an EWR coin.
Maybe.
We'll call it EWRC. So we thought, hey, let's imagine that somebody's just coming out with a coin, has approached us and said, hey, I want a marketing strategy. Like, I want you to walk me through the marketing strategy for a cryptocurrency, right? And we're like, hey, well, we can do that. We walk people through strategies. We create strategies all the time. So let's do that for EWR coin. I think that's going to be fun.
All right, let's do
it. And so it's going to start with, we're going to just go through this list. We'll probably run it out 30 minutes. We think, again, remember, this is a comprehensive marketing strategy for a new company. So this is going to take a while. It'll probably end up being 2 podcasts. So and this is podcast number 507. So you may be looking at 507 and 508, probably not 509. The first thing, right? What do you, Matt, I'm EWR coin. What do I got to start with?
Well, who's your avatar? Who are you targeting? Right? That's what I think. I think you need to figure out who's your target audience. What's the story behind what the coin does, right?
Okay. So you actually took it a step further back to the kind of the real EWR process, which is, hey, let's understand your customer base. You got to do that. Let's pretend we did that already, right? So we got these beautiful avatars. We know where these people hang out. We know what kind of food they like to eat. We know all of this good stuff. And then now we got to start with some online presence. What's the first presence that we start with?
SEO.
The website.
Well, no, you build the website, but SEO, you got to have a great website.
Yeah. So you start on the website, and if you're in there's different things that you can do in different spaces, right? There's some industries where the impact that the website has, where I'm not going to say professionalism, but the look and feel of the website can be very different. Like your Toys R Us website is going to look very different than your EWR currency website. So kind of explain some of the ideas that you would throw into, like, what are the overriding concepts that you'd want to see in a website for EWR coin?
Well, again, I would have to base all that on the data.
If our target market is 5 to 10-year-olds.
I mean, if we paint with broad strokes, I think a really clean website that looks very high tech. I think that there's a couple different ways to go with styling, but we would do like a workshop to figure out what that looks like. Look at a couple other websites that our client likes or we like, that we feel that represents us, right? Because I think that, in this digital world with COVID, a lot of the conversation is, hey, you love your storefront, you love your showroom, maybe you're not getting as much foot traffic as you were before. Does your online presence represent your brick and mortar presence, right? And
Yeah.
and so I think, again, taking kind of those basic concepts and understanding what is your token trying to achieve, and base that on who you're targeting. And if you do a broad brush with the crypto space, this is kind of Web3 next generation type stuff. So you need to reflect that with the look and feel and interactivity of the website.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of thinking like some of these coins that are coming out have like a charity aspect, so that could drive that initial design. It may just be like Dogecoin, which is started as really just a joke, a comment, so that could have a lot lighter feel. If you're trying to create a currency that's like maybe more focused as a like the one that maps the US dollar, then that's going to drive a whole lot of what the website needs to look like.
Yeah, and I mean, if we were to build a coin, we certainly don't want to try to be a currency. There's enough people out there trying to actually be a currency or a store of value and medium of exchange, unit of measure, that sort of thing. But I think like a utility coin would be like the kind of coin, like Filecoin. There's a bunch of them out there, but I think these different coins are trying to solve different problems, and so I would try to figure out what's your coin trying to do, or what your market, right? The art market, or crowdfunding, or games. Like there's a lot of different things that you can do with it, but you got to, again, that's going to decide everything, right? Of what your approach is. But I think that your website is one of the doorways to maybe your marketing, right? Like or your storytelling of what you're trying to do. I know, I don't know based on the list you put together, Chris, but like I'm a big fan right now of video storytelling and getting your message out there and bringing your brand alive and trying to explain what you're trying to do in the world to make that positive impact and to service a need that someone actually has. And so I think it's all about communicating that in a website. Now,
so I like
we have that and we can move on from that. But I mean, your website is your core representation of your brand. Then your social media handles build into that, and you're creating like your footprint. And I think everything we're doing here is trying to create awareness for the coin after the initial launch or whatever, and getting people to use it and support it. And
and we'll come to those specifically. I like that you brought up video, which actually wasn't on my list, and shame on me, should have been on my list. So talk, like there's a lot of different ways to do videos. Just grab like 1, 2, or 3 ways that kind of pop to mind, and like what you might do with those again to promote EWR coin.
Well, one needs to explain what it's trying to achieve. Probably one needs to explain the economics of how you utilize the coin. Another one could be talking about like the team and who's behind it, right? And maybe the governance structure, or like you're telling a story, and so you got to figure out what people need to know, like how to use it. Like if people want to stake it, or they want to do other things with it. I was even looking like specifically with like, again, I'm not promoting it, but like Filecoin, what the people are doing is storing online data, right? Like storing online data to contribute to a decentralized internet. And that's something we could certainly do, Chris. And so if we want other people to get involved in that market, right? Where everything's not on Amazon or Azure or whatever, we want to explain that to people, get them to understand it, get behind the mission, get behind the team to know it's not going to go anywhere, and to really, like, what we're trying to do is get people to invest in our vision, right? I mean, I think that's what you're trying to do with all marketing, is trying to get to people to buy in how you view the world, right? And if your viewpoint stronger, it's going to be infectious to more people. And I mean, essentially, I think that's what's happening with Bitcoin, is if enough people believe this is a store of value, then It is,
It
right?
is. That makes it. So in a couple things, right? In videos, the style of video that you might choose is again going to be dependent on that demographic. Are you explaining your coin with, kind of a cartoon or an animation? Are you explaining it with a talking head of, some guy in some surfer dude, or is it somebody in a coat and tie? Like all of those things are going to go down to the point where you're flipping me. Are they going to go down to, what is the target market and what impact is that, what impact is that video going to have on that target market? So that's good. I think what you're saying, like really launching new coin, you actually need to have an entire video marketing strategy. It's got to fold in and it's driven by that avatar. But we could spend an hour talking about the strategy behind the video marketing.
Right. I mean, they're like, this is multi-channel strategy of like, you need to understand the buyer's journey, right? Of like how people are discovering you, where they might find you, what are those demographics that you're looking for? What kind of data can you bring into it? Who is this person? Where would you get them? How would you get them interested? Like, so it's almost like you can't, like there's these fundamental channels that you utilize in an omni-channel way. But until you know what your business plan is, and then your marketing plan layers on your business plan, it's really hard to figure out what direction you could go with marketing, because, like I do believe like a core in SEO is extremely helpful for all our clients in any industry. We work across many industries, and I've just found that SEO as a base layer of your marketing is critically important to drive the research and engagement for them finding you, because ads are not as trustworthy or as organically what the data tells you, right? And really, we're a data-driven marketing firm, so it's like the decisions we make are based upon what the data is telling us. So this is really hard actually for me to design a marketing plan without some fundamental assumptions of what we're trying to achieve. Because like, if you say, hey, here's how you could take a video and chop it up and run the first 30 seconds or 15 seconds as a video kind of teaser to draw them to a landing page that's a long form sales letter that is explaining stuff more, that then we do retargeting and email automation and text automate, like how to build a funnel. Like that's
Right.
basically what you can do, and that's a fundamental concept of marketing in general. But like how within that kind of bandwidth you build these strategies is really significantly dependent upon what you're trying to achieve, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think, and you've mentioned SEO a couple of times already. I'm going to say, okay, we did web design. We kind of jumped ahead to video, but really once the web design is done, the next thing in my mind, and it's for kind of a different reason than one might think, is SEO. And let me and you can speak to this in just a second, which is, okay, we know we're going to be getting the word about this EWR coin out there, right?
Yeah.
And as the word gets out there, you're probably going to get it out there in a lot of ways that don't necessarily have direct backlinks, or they see it and they read it and they remember it later. So you got to have like just some modicum of SEO just to make sure that whatever they remember about your story, they can Google that story and find you.
Yeah. So fundamentally, like SEO, like the strategies build, you want to rank for your name. You want to rank for some core topics that people would type in, at least on the first page where people can find you. And then you fundamentally, you want to set up like remarketing. So once you do the hard work to get people there, or have like a domain, like, and that's something we didn't even talk about too, is like, what's the domain you're going to use? Is it easy to remember? Is it easier to type in? Because a lot of the people that you're going to be sharing is going to be through word of mouth. And there would probably be some links there of sharing thing in this COVID world, and utilizing social media, but also people you interact with and talk with. You want them searching for you. You want them finding for you. You want to get that name recognition. I think is incredibly important. And then if people are looking for it and they don't totally remember it, well, that's a marketing problem, right? If they can't remember it, but if they type something in, what might they type in? And if they find you, so you can give them more information, right? So that's why people are coming to the website. That's where, what is it? 80, 90% of all searches are informational searches, right? So you're using it to go find more information. So you need to be able to get your story in a place that if people want to learn more, they can easily find you. I mean, the most, I don't know, the thing that I hate or frustrating thing is if I'm looking for a person or I'm looking for a company and I have to click on a bunch of different links because I don't know if it's the right person or if it's the right company, and I have to dig through a bunch to find it, right? And do I ever know if this is the right thing, right? I mean, one example, right? When what is it? Zoom? What is it? Is it Zoom? ZOOM?
Yeah.
That the stock price, right? The stock price went way up, and it was actually the wrong stock. Like that went way up.
Oh.
You don't want a case of mistaken identity.
Yeah.
So.
And that goes back to even maybe not calling it EWR coin, right? Like we would spend time making the decision on if we're going to launch the coin, depending on what the purpose of the coin is. We might name it something different.
Well, EWR, right? Like when we looked at EWR, when we were looking at our rebrand, there was some kind of
Newark Airport.
Yeah, well, there was the airport, and then there was some kind of device or mechanical like component or something that had EWR in it. Now we pushed all that down, and we're going after the airport, but we had to know, okay, they're looking for the airport, but when they search EWR and then they add marketing to it, we want to be one of the top choices that come up. Certainly, I do want to outrank the airport, but that's going to take a little bit more time. But they can easily differentiate who we are, and they might have to add that additional word to find us, or EWR coin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or eWeb results, right? Like, so people might not remember EWR. Like, what does it stand for? EWR stands for eWeb results coin. So they might type that too, right? So you got to think through what's like marketing is all about getting in the person's head, like at the time where you're trying to show them this or show them that, and on that customer journey, you need to know what they need to see at that point in the discovery process.
Yeah.
Right? So.
It's interesting as you're talking, I'm picturing like what our typical marketing plan delivery looks like. And it's so data driven that you're right. Like this is hard to like, I don't know, this could go in 100 different ways. And that's what often happens when a client walks in the door is like you just walked in the door. I don't know which way it'll go. We need some time to look at the data, and the data is driven by like, what are the goals? What are the company goals and all of those things.
So the little consulting, so bestseopodcast.com, we're working on rebuilding that site. But the consulting, the profit plans or the strategy sessions we're doing, I can tell you there's been 2 strategy sessions I've done recently. At the end of the sessions, I've said, hey, I don't know if this is a good business to utilize SEO or some of these things because there's not a search volume, right?
Right.
And that's incredibly important to not dump a bunch of money into,
that could be the best, the most valuable advice that is ever given.
Like, now one person, very astute person said, hey, this is phenomenal. This is great. Another person, she believed in her idea, her message so much, which I was trying to show her how to tweak it, wasn't as thankful. Right. I can tell you there's just, different situations that you need to know what that data is before you get started. And I have a lot of examples here, but you got to sit down and figure out what that marketing business plan looks like based on the data, applying that against your business goals before you go one way or another. You don't go, hey, I like social media or I like influencer marketing. Like that's what I'm going to do. That might not be the most effective way to achieve ROI, right? So you got to everything that you're trying to do, you build kind of a different strategy based on the 100 different tools that are available to you, right? Like there's all kinds of marketing things, but there's no real silver bullet. It's about how you layer them on together to achieve the desired goal. Because like, I'll give you an example. You probably, if you do a guest post, you probably want a guest post on a cryptocurrency blog. You don't want one on just a general business blog. Like what's going to give you more ROI? Like certainly there are people that you could expose to for business, but you might want people that are more familiar with the crypto or digital currency space to find you first, because they're more likely to get involved, right? So
yeah, for sure. All right, so next, let's go. So number one, web design. We threw in video, SEO. Let's talk a little bit about paid promotion. Right.
So did you see that? Sorry, I had to block somebody that was spamming our podcast. So they're saying buy a crypto or whatever from this site, like it doesn't even look like a real name. So
wow, yeah.
Who knows this new blockchain space? How much fraud? Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that person's a true listener, but certainly I would have approached it differently. And that's another thing. And again, I'm going to go on a little tangent here, and we're going kind of long on time. I don't feel like we've gotten anywhere. But I mean, the planning phase, the blueprint phase of what you're trying to do is critically important, right? What was I going to say? I think that fraud. Well, gosh, I don't even remember what I was going to say.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do a little cheating. Reputation management is actually in this list, so we'll get to talk. We'll kind of pause and talk about that in a second.
No, this is what I was going to say, right? Yeah. Okay, so in this COVID world, I've been talking to people and how to network and these different kind of things. Think about like social media as like a party, or LinkedIn as a business networking thing. Are you the person that's going around giving everybody your business card? Like what just happened there? And no offense, but that person was just throwing their business card to people, throw, spam, and then they leave. Like, is that effective? Is that useful? Right? Like add some value to the conversation, build some relationship up, and then offer it is of exchange of what you're doing. But that's equivalent to somebody just on Facebook sending a bunch of messages. I mean, really, one of the interesting stories, I'm reading this book on mastering blockchain. I forget, I believe that's what it's called. And really where a lot of cryptography started was email spam, Chris. So they were looking at a way to force people to be a little bit more thoughtful in who they were sending these emails to, because you can just generate emails and spam like no problem. But if there was like, if you were charging, or you got charged for every email you sent, you wouldn't be doing that as much, right?
Right.
Because right now it's super, you just spam people, and what does it really cost you, right?
Yeah.
So that was actually how back in the day they were looking at, and how some of these ideas that came together to be Bitcoin got started. So
yep. All right, let's get back to paid promotion. So we've got our EWR coin. We set up the website. We've got some kind of the initial phases of SEO. Obviously, on a concrete marketing strategy, it's going to include paid. I know this is challenging because we don't have the confines of the avatar. But where are we starting?
I mean, there's a lot of different ways to start, right? Be bidding on your name if you're not there. You want to get.
And that's a great question. Like, should I bid on my name?
Depends. Like, it depends on the situation, right? If you're not ranking on the first page for your name, certainly I think bidding on your name for people able to find you is important. I think if you're running ads when you have a promotion, in general, you want to run them to a page that talks about that promotion. And like if you're doing other kinds of marketing, you might not want to send them to your homepage, right? You might want to send them to whatever offer it is you're doing. There might be keywords of people searching that you might want them to find you. You might want to get more aggressive, and there's a competitor in your space that's a lot bigger, and you might want to siphon some of that traffic. There's the opportunity to do that as well, right? So I think that again, it comes down to what's your marketing strategy of how you want to effectively use these tools, because they're quite powerful. So
and so maybe we could say, if we're Filecoin, right, and they're an entity has come forward and said, hey, how do we market this? I mean, one of the things that I'm thinking from a paid promotion perspective, if we're just talking about Google paid ads, because paid can mean so many things, right?
And you might not be able to do pays. Like, it might be a restricted class based on how you pitch it. So you could also pitch some kind of education. We've had to do some workarounds before of like, maybe it's not buy my coin. It's like, here's how to invest in crypto, right? Or whatever. Right. And so now you're providing education that is outside of the scope of asking them to do something. Because when ICOs were, you could really do ICOs.
What's an ICO?
Back in like 2017, you couldn't really market them. Google and Facebook weren't allowing you to do it. And those are the two biggest paid channels. You could use other. Maybe other
ICO. An ICO is an initial coin offering. So like when you're trying to get investors for a coin, right?
Yeah. I think we've already launched the coin. We're now trying to promote it and getting people to use it. I think is a lot safer approach. But I mean, this could be applied to like all these things are fundamental things that work across every industry. Yep. And we support companies in all these different industries. But if you're a wallet, or you're a decentralized exchange, or you're offering, I mean, what were some of the ones we were looking at? You're offering financial services
about
cryptos, like, I mean, like insurance. There's all these different kind of things that really, what it is you're doing, how is it unique in the marketplace, and then how are you getting that message out to people to differentiate yourself, right? Like, but it's almost the same. I mean, it's the same process, but based on a certain set of assumptions as well as goals that you're trying to achieve determines what channels that you use. So
yeah, and I'll add on paid, so a couple things. Remember that you can't get the keywords if the traffic is organic, right? Like,
well, there's tools that you can use. AdWords is only going to give you paid markets, so they don't give you the full picture. And I think a lot of people don't know that is keywords everywhere or SEMrush or something like that. You can Uber suggest, you can find keywords that there's not, like a lot of these keywords, there's not potentially a market yet for them.
I'm talking about like once the traffic's landed on our site, right? Okay. If it came from an organic click, I can't know what keyword that organic click came from.
Yeah, thank Google for that.
Yeah, but paid can, right? And what paid gives you the advantage of is if EWR coin as a phrase converts 100 times more than eWeb results coin or whatever, then you can understand where your focus needs to be. So that paid gives you some of the data that you need to create the better strategy.
To create a long-term strategy, paid is a great way to do it. I also like to use like Twitter. You can get feedback immediately. Like there's different ways to kind of do market testing or surveying really quickly. And AdWords is a phenomenal tool to use to see how people are responding, to change your messaging, to see like how people are interacting with it. And then you can build a solid or long-term strategy based upon what the data is, right? Like it all goes back to the data. So
yep. All right, next. So, all right, we've got the website, we've got some good SEO, we've got the videos there, paid promotion. Maybe the videos are even being used in the paid promotion, probably. Now let's talk about press release, right? Because there used to be a day when a press release meant everything in SEO, not everything, but that's an exaggeration, but meant as a huge amount, and it means less now, but there's still value there. So let's talk about the press releases.
So press releases, there's different channels that work with different, reporters or companies that are trying to produce articles. You got to there's a couple really interesting books out there, but you need to understand how the ecosystem works. But basically how Google looks at it is someone can take your press release, and understand your story and write an article off it, and then they write an article off it and post it, that article and that link back to you, or that link to the press release, help you. But the initial press release doesn't necessarily help you, but it helps you reach more people. So again, if you have a compelling story, maybe you have a video embed in there, people can see what you're doing. They decide to write a story on it or share that with other people or publish it as news. You're proliferating that information, and anytime people reuse what you put out there, those also backlinks help you. So a press release is a great way to announce something to reach a lot of people.
Yeah. And I think if you're in the context of EWR coin, right? Like this is new to the market, nobody knows about it. Like you want a press release there when somebody actually goes and does a search for EWR coin, is like, oh, there's the site. Oh, there's a press release right underneath it. Let me read that. Like that can enhance that credibility. And you talked about pushing, if you're using EWR marketing, then you're actually pushing people off of that first page that are related to, Newark Airport. That gives you that breadth of value, right? Like when you search EWR digital, you got pages and pages of content related to the company. And the same thing could be, a press release is part of that. So just one of those parts. All right, let's talk about actually. So this is interesting. It's still paid promotions, but let's get a little more nuanced in paid promotions. Let's talk about display campaigns.
Okay, I love display campaigns. Display remarketing, display campaigns. It's the banner ads that can chase you around, or go on your normal news site. Some of them are kind of annoying, right? That try to get in your way of navigation or your user experience. You don't want to be that ad, right? But
Yeah.
there's some segmentation you can do to not be those ads, right? And unselect those ads, or like not be in the ads. But the whole jungle of like display advertising and the different inventory channels like Taboola and all these different places of getting that out there, reaching different people. And then basically it's like a billboard, right? A digital billboard. So you can share a message. You can have a call to action. You can get some brand recognition. There's really unlimited things that you can do with display. I mean, there's so many different ways to use it. And again, that omni-channel strategy, it's just so effective. Like if you're a company offering a new service, like I was actually talking to this a company that's e-commerce, and they have some physical locations, and how they're different from their competitors is they do installation of like car speakers and car equipment and stuff, right? And that's a differentiating factor, and they don't know it. So you could target people that are searching for that name. You could search it for people in that industry, but you could have this messaging that say, we do installation too, right? And then you put that out there, or even the segmentation of people that have been to your website before, and this is a new service. Those banner ads get out there and are reminders, or get in front of people. Is quite helpful to get like a static message or call to action out. So I really like banner ads.
And and I've heard you talk about, because there's two pieces, and actually I'm gonna give remarketing its own category. I've heard you talk about display campaigns to kind of new markets as being a way, being planting the seeds, right? Like, so get out there, and if it's in the example that you gave, well, let's stick to our example. If it's people kind of debating the valuation, the current value of different coins, that'd be a great place to have the EWR coin ads, right? So that could expose new people to these EWR coins, right?
So display ads are a good way to like seed a market. Also to gain that brand recognition. There's data that supports it. If someone's heard your name before, and then when they go to look for whatever and they recognize your name, they give it a lot more value. But it's a lot cheaper way to get the word out there than people bidding on keywords. And you can also pay per like 1,000 impressions, or viewable impressions are better. And then you reach a lot more people. So it's more of a branding aspect, or it's more of a reminder aspect, but it gives you that market presence, right? And I think that display ads are phenomenal. So
yeah. And then, all right, so this is going to be our seventh thing, and we're going to wrap up from here. And you touched on it a little bit already, which is that remarketing. So for those who don't know, and there's maybe no one in our audience doesn't know, everybody's been on Amazon and had some item that they were looking at on Amazon. That exact item has followed them to other websites, followed them on Facebook. And what a lot of our audience probably already knows is that remarketing is the best ad dollar you can possibly spend. There is no better ad dollar. There's some restrictions in terms of you got to have enough volume.
You got to have like 100 people a month coming to your site, like, because there's
what was that number?
Things. 100. There's some privacy, because like, think about it, you could just target like one person and chase them around, like and there's privacy issues there. Over like, we're just talking about the US, there's some issues utilizing some of that in the EU. But I mean, remarketing, 400% increase in engagement. There's a lot of data support, increase in conversions of leads and sales. Really, remarketing is one of the first things that we do as soon as you kind of get over that 100, 200, 300 threshold. And if you're a business out there and you're not doing that, you really should be.
You need to call.
I mean, I think, what is it? We that's a huge focus. Like, you need to be doing remarketing. So
and just think, it makes perfect sense. They've already kind of raised their hand and said, hey, you company, I'm kind of interested in what you're doing, right? They did that by visiting your website. That's the person that you want to like everybody else in the room doesn't have their hand raised. You want to go sit next to the person with their hand raised and keep talking to them, keep chatting with them, ask them questions.
So one of the cool things about remarketing too, that like could get a little more technical, is you could run one ad to them for maybe the first 3 days, right? When they're hot, they might buy. And then at maybe day 7, right? And also the frequency, right? So you could hit them up 10 times a day in the beginning, right? And then you could slow it down a little bit, and you could change the messaging. And typically the strategy is your offer needs to get a little bit stronger, right, as time goes on. And then at a certain maybe threshold, you put them on some kind of maintenance, because you can target them for a full year after they come to your website. So again, that going back to that storytelling and how you want to hit them, remarketing videos, remarketing display ads, remarketing them in search, remarketing them on Facebook and Instagram. And I mean, not specifically for this, but for a lot of our clients, like Nextdoor, like there's other apps, there's TikTok, like there's other ways that any pixel that you can put on your website, Quora, maybe people are asking questions on Quora. You can retarget all those people, and it's so phenomenal. I mean, remarketing is
the most cost-effective use of your marketing dollar, bar none. The end of story, no questions asked. Yeah, and I think a lot of people think of the example I gave, an Amazon thing following you around. Okay, and that's great. But you can do more sophisticated. You talk about, you can identify the days, so you could present to them. You were talking more in terms of, hey, make it a more aggressive offer to get a conversion. But you can just give it like, for 3 days, you talk about how the EWR coin is the newest coin. And then you talk about how it's already got a great backer. And you talk about like, it's got a great charity aspect, and you can do that over time, so that now they've been exposed to your, they've raised their hand, and then you've put in front of them the flyers that are like, hey, here are those reasons that you might want to engage with us.
Well, like, I mean, even you could target in the app stores, right? You could target people that have cryptocurrency wallets, right? Or that have access to trading platforms. I mean, there's so many different angles, right? And it goes all the way back to that strategy is so important. I think people just sometimes want to go like, we actually made this graphic, like when you're building a website, it's almost like building a house. Like you need to have a blueprint. You need to have a general contractor. You need to figure out where the pipes are going to go and the windows are going to go, and like how it's all going to fit together before you start building. I imagine like just showing up the first day and going, all right, we're ready to build a house. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that planning stage is so critically important, and I think that's the best use of your money first, and then I think remarketing is probably the second best use of your money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the old adage, right? Failing to plan is planning to fail, right? You gotta have that strategy. All right. Well, we covered 7. We may have 7 more. I actually added a couple during the podcast as we were brainstorming. Again, cryptocurrency marketing. This is podcast number 507. Turns out this is part 1 of cryptocurrency marketing. Tune in to part 2. That'll be coming out soon. That'll be 508. And we want to thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. Do have to share, like, we don't get paid to actually do these podcasts. What we do is we get paid in your shares and likes and follows and reviews. So please do us a kind favor and go out there and Shiko us.
Yeah, share, like, and follow.
Share, like, and follow.
We've been around a minute. We've been around a minute for you listeners out there. So
yeah. Since 2009. So you guys,
that's basically when Bitcoin started.
Yeah,
it was like October. Yeah. So, but anyways.
So you guys, our audience, have made us the most popular SEO podcast, one of the most popular internet marketing podcasts in the known universe. We really appreciate you. Thank you. Patif to you. It's so much appreciated. Unless Matt, unless you've got anything else.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye for now.